China is outpacing the US in the nuclear energy race, and the gap is widening. With China's aggressive expansion in nuclear power, it's clear that their strategic investments and state support are paying off, while the US struggles with old infrastructure and regulatory hurdles. What's next for the US as it falls behind? Don't go away. Find out how this evolving situation could redefine nuclear power and influence the energy industry worldwide. China's lead in nuclear reactor generation can be credited to robust government backing, which involves significant funding from state-supported banks, simplified regulatory procedures, and a well-organized national strategy aimed at advancing nuclear power. Presently, China is constructing 27 nuclear reactors and intends to build 150 more by 2035. The typical construction period for these reactors is approximately 7 years, significantly quicker than in other nations. Additionally, China has made a notable advancement by introducing the world's first fourth-generation nuclear reactors at the Shidao 1 power plant. These reactors use cutting-edge high-temperature helium gas cooling and modular pebble bed technology. In contrast, the United States has faced difficulties with its nuclear power development over the past 10 years. Only 2 new reactors have been finished, both at the Plant Vogtle site in Georgia, which encountered extensive delays and considerable cost overruns. Currently, the United States does not have any new reactor projects in progress, which makes it difficult to narrow the gap with China. The report highlights that the United States needs to implement a similar strategy as China, involving improved coordination in energy policy, streamlined permitting processes, and enhanced government support to revitalize its nuclear power industry and compete effectively on the global stage. China has greatly surpassed the U.S. in terms of green energy investment and capacity. In 2022, China invested $546 billion in low-carbon energy transitions, accounting for nearly half of the global total, while the U.S. spent $141 billion. This spending covers areas such as renewable energy, energy storage, electric transportation, and carbon capture. China's renewable energy capacity is already vast, with plans to expand it to 3.9 terawatts by 2030, more than triple its capacity in 2022. Significant projects include large-scale solar and wind farms in its western desert areas, which are connected to eastern markets through high-speed transmission lines. On the other hand, in 2022, the U.S. clean energy sources made up 40.6% of its electricity mix, including wind, hydroelectric, and solar power, as well as nuclear energy, which, though not renewable, is a major zero-emission energy source. In 2022, the U.S. added 32 gigawatts of wind and solar capacity, a decrease from the 37 gigawatts added in 2021 due to rising costs and supply chain issues. The Chinese government actively supports renewable energy through significant state-backed investments and policies designed to incorporate renewables into the national grid. This includes providing incentives for distributed rooftop solar installations and rural renewable projects, which greatly enhance distributed photovoltaic capacity. In the U.S., federal investment and policy incentives, such as those included in the Inflation Reduction Act, focus on encouraging the adoption of electric vehicles and other clean technologies. However, the U.S. faces stiff competition from China's established supply chains, especially in solar panels and EV batteries, where China holds a dominant market position. Even with its progress in renewables, China still relies on fossil fuels for about 70% of its electricity, primarily coal. This dependence on coal presents a major hurdle to reducing overall emissions. In contrast, the U.S. has reduced its coal-fired generation, which dropped to 19.4% of its electricity mix in 2022, with natural gas and renewables making up the difference. The U.S. has the highest number of operational nuclear plants worldwide, with 93 reactors spread across 54 nuclear power plants in 28 states. However, the country has seen a decrease in new nuclear construction projects. At present, Plant Vogtle in Georgia is the only nuclear construction project ongoing in the U.S., highlighting a notable slowdown in the expansion of nuclear capacity. While the U.S. has long been a leader in nuclear power, supplying around 19 to 20% of the nation's electricity for many years, the development of new reactors has slowed. The average age of U.S. reactors is about 42 years, and the industry has encountered obstacles, such as regulatory challenges, high costs, and extended construction times. These issues have led to delays and budget overruns in recent projects. including the new units at Plant Vogtle. On the other hand, China is quickly advancing its nuclear capabilities, with numerous reactors currently under construction and plans for even more. This contrast underscores the need for the U.S. to adopt a more strategic approach to nuclear energy development to sustain its leadership and support clean energy objectives. The U.S. faces several challenges that have hindered its progress in nuclear power compared to countries like China. A major issue is the negative public perception of nuclear energy, influenced by significant nuclear accidents over the past few decades. These events have had a lasting effect on public opinion, fostering the belief that nuclear energy is unsafe. Additionally, debates over the management and disposal of nuclear waste further reinforce this perception. Political obstacles also significantly contribute to the delays in nuclear power development. Public opposition to nuclear energy heavily impacts political decisions, creating major barriers to the approval and construction of new nuclear plants. Politicians, concerned about facing criticism from their constituents, are frequently hesitant to support nuclear projects. This reluctance has led to a fragmented national strategy and inadequate funding for advancing nuclear technology. Additionally, the U.S. regulatory environment is intricate and often slow, complicating the development of new nuclear infrastructure. The process of securing permits and approvals is prolonged, and while strict safety regulations are essential, they also lead to delays and cost overruns. Streamlining this regulatory framework is necessary to enable faster and more cost-effective development of nuclear projects. The United States encounters major economic obstacles in expanding nuclear power, mainly due to the substantial capital costs involved. Constructing a nuclear power plant demands a significant initial investment, covering expenses for design, engineering, construction, and regulatory compliance. These projects are often financially burdensome and have long lead times before they become operational. In the U.S., these high capital costs are often transferred to ratepayers early in the development phase. This approach can make nuclear energy less appealing compared to other energy sources with lower initial costs and quicker financial returns. For example, natural gas plants and renewable energy sources, like wind and solar, are generally less expensive to build and can be put into operation more quickly, making them more flexible and cost-effective options for energy generation. Furthermore, the financial risks and uncertainties linked with nuclear power projects, such as possible cost overruns and construction delays, increase the economic challenges. These issues create a cautious investment environment, where private investors and utility companies might be hesitant to invest in new nuclear projects without substantial government support and incentives. In contrast, China takes a more strategic and supportive approach to nuclear power development. The Chinese government employs a long-term strategy and utilizes various funding mechanisms to ensure the financial stability of nuclear projects. State-backed banks offer low-interest loans and significant government subsidies, easing the financial load on the nuclear sector. This extensive support system promotes continuous investment and enables China to aggressively expand its nuclear capabilities. By reducing financial risks and ensuring steady funding, China can effectively develop new nuclear reactors and strengthen its position in the global nuclear energy market. This approach highlights the need for a similar supportive framework in the U.S. to revitalize its nuclear energy sector and address the economic challenges that have affected its nuclear industry. That wraps up our exploration of China's nuclear energy advancements and the challenges facing the U.S. The key takeaway is that China's strategic approach is significantly shifting the balance of global nuclear power. How do you think this shift will affect the future of energy? Share your insights in the comments below and join the Revel Discovery community by hitting that subscribe button to stay updated on the latest in technological advancements and innovations. Discover the endless possibilities that technology has to offer for an exciting future.